I'm Chef Steve, and I'm going to show you how to do a Cuban style smoked pork belly. All right, we're going to start by making our marinade rub. So we're going to use this mortar and pestle. We got 1 garlic clove, we're going to put it in there. Orange peel seasoning, ½ teaspoon. Fresh red pepper flakes, dried oregano, ½ teaspoon cumin, whole teaspoon of coriander seeds, about a teaspoon of olive oil, some lime zest. This is a microplane. You just want to get the flesh. Don't go down to the white. You just want the flesh. This is going to give you a really nice lime citrus flavor instead of that acidic flavor. We're still going to use some of the lime juice, but this is going to give you that really nice lime flavor without all the acid. I'm going to put that in there. That's what contains all of the oils. Okay, now we're going to use our pestle, and we're going to crush this all up in there until it's really nice and fine. Now we're going to squeeze in this lime juice right at the end here. And I do the juice at the end because if you're trying to grind it with all the liquid in there, it's a little bit harder to make a paste because everything's moving around, kind of soupy. So now you put the lime juice at the end and it kind of blends that all together. That's what you want it to be looking like. A nice saucy paste like that. All right, here's the pork belly we're going to be using today. This is, it looks like a 4.6 pound pork belly. So I usually do about 1 pound an hour, maybe a little bit more, about 1.5 hours per pound. So this is going to take about, I would say this is going to take between 6 and 7 hours, somewhere around there. You don't want it to cook it too much where it's falling apart like pulled pork, but you want it tender enough that where it falls apart when you eat it, if that makes sense. A lot of people say to wash the meat before you cook it or work with it. I don't do that. You don't really want to wash the meat because it just spreads contamination and stuff. If the meat it smells or you think you need to wash it, then it's probably not the freshest meat. So this is nice and fresh. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to score this meat. And this is the most important part. You want to really take your time on scoring this meat. Make sure you get a really nice square, kind of mold it with your hand. Like this. I'm just going to cut a little bit of this end off. Make sure you have a really nice sharp knife. That's really important. Okay? And you don't want to push through the meat, just let the knife do the work. So if you have a really sharp knife, this shouldn't be an issue. And you're only doing about 1/4 inch slices. And you want to get it deep enough to where the fat just separates a little bit, but you're not getting it deep enough to touch the meat. Keep it 1/4 inch all the way. Take your time on this. I know it's a little bit tedious, but I'm telling you, you're gonna not regret it at the end when you're done. All right, now that you have sliced it all in one direction, like that, now we're going to slice it the other way. Okay, now that we got all of our meat sliced, you can see it's all sliced like that. So you could see here I went a little bit, you could see here I got a little bit too deep, but for the most part it's all pretty consistent. That's what you want there. Okay, so now for the top, we're not going to put any of this marinade on here. Okay, we're only going to put salt. Do you know why we do that? Huh? Not to flatten it out, but what it's going to do is it's going to draw the moisture out of that fat, and that's what's going to make it nice and crispy. So we're gonna put salt. This is kosher salt. I'm gonna put a nice generous layer on here. Okay, and then we're just gonna rub it into all those little crevices. Just salt. Make sure it gets all into that meat like that, all into that fat. Okay, now I'm just gonna put a little olive oil. And this just makes the top nice and golden brown. Now we're gonna flip it. The meat. Now we're gonna put that rub on here. Okay. See, we didn't have to make too much, just enough to cover the bottom like this. Smells good, right? Nice and refreshing.
Guys, you can smell it.
Rub it all in. Then I just take a fork like this. You can use another tool called a jacarder, but I don't have that. But this ensures that seasoning gets right directly into the meat. You're gonna need a couple of whole onions. So what you're gonna do is just don't peel the onions or anything. You're just gonna cut them just like this. Keeping them into slices. Keep the core on and everything. Okay, I'm going to show you how to set up the big green egg to smoke this pork belly. What I do is I take out this grate. I don't have all these kind of crazy special tools, just cheap tools. What you want to do is knock down all these ashes from the last cook. You really want to try to knock down as much of those little coals as you can to increase that airflow. So I just put cardboard, little papers at the bottom. They don't need too much. Okay. And then I'm just gonna build this up a little bit, like a little teepee right here. Get some of these smaller ones around so they catch pretty easily. Regular old blowtorch. I just light it in there.
Until it gets smoky.
Yeah. And for this, you just want to get a little bit of fire in there, just to get a couple of the coals lit. And I'll show you how to do a little hack here. I haven't had a big green egg for a very long time, but I've been a chef my whole life, and I've started many grills. And I know that with starting any grill, you need good airflow, good oxygen. So as long as you have a little bit of coal going, you'll be able to start any kind of fire. So that's about all I'd need right there. So now we're gonna roll this over here. All right, bring it over here. And I have this fan. I have this fan right here. I just put the fan there. Turn the fan on. And we put it right here. I'll show it in there.
Now it's blowing.
You see how it's blowing in there and the coals are red? All you have to do is close this up. Open this vent all the way. See how it's blowing out of there? And just let it sit for about 8 to 10 minutes. Now after about 6 minutes, I open this up and you can see it's blowing really hard like a torch in there. And that's all because of the fan. You want to preheat this closed. The reason you preheat this closed is because you want the clay to heat up. If you preheat this and try to get the fire started with it open, once you close it, your temperature is going to drop significantly. So I usually start this around 550. We're gonna get the temperature up to 550. We're gonna close all the vents and we're gonna let it preheat. All right, we're at 550. I'm gonna remove this fan. Now this is important. Shown down here, the vent. So what you have to do first is make sure you close this vent all the way. That's gonna cut off the oxygen to the fire, and the fire is gonna die down right away. And you can see this has only been about 6 minutes, and it is just red hot in here. And now you just wanna mix around all these coals to evenly distribute the fire and the heat. And I start making a nice little hole in the center where the coals are the hottest. And that's where we're gonna put our smoking wood. I got 2 pre-soaked big little logs of apple wood. And I'm gonna put these right in the center here, right in these coals. Push them in. Okay. Then here's the trick to this whole thing. Okay. Put this up here. So here's a 10-inch cast iron pot, cast iron frying pan with water. And this fits perfectly right in this insert. Be very careful not to get any water in. We're gonna put that water there. Take our grate. Put the grate right over, and that fits perfectly there. And then we're gonna take our onions. You see that those applewood logs are already starting to smoke pretty good. I'm gonna put our onions on here like this. This cast iron frying pan of water eliminates the need for us to wrap the pork belly to tenderize it. Just like you would do pork butt or sometimes brisket, you wrap it and finish it for another 3-4 hours to tenderize it. That water is gonna create a nice humid environment in here, and it's gonna really help with the smoke ring and keeping everything nice and tender. Okay. So we can see the smoke's really starting to billow out now just from those couple of logs. We're gonna take our pork belly. We're gonna place it right on top of these onions, just like that. Try to keep the whole pork belly inside of that cast iron pan. Okay, and you're gonna close it up and then do your smoke settings. I keep it about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch here. We gotta make sure we open it enough to create airflow. The oxygen is really important to get that smoke ring. So you want a good smoke ring to start in there. Bless you. I got a nice starting smoke already starting to come out. And like I said before, preheating with the top closed is very important to maintain that temperature. You wouldn't heat up an oven with the door open, would you? So to get the consistent heat in here, it's got to be closed, especially for a long cook. It's right at about 200 degrees, and we're going to smoke it for about 7 hours. Take it off. Okay, and we're going to take these onions with us. Look how nice these onions are. Right now you can see that the fat has rendered down a lot. It's really nice and crispy. But we're going to go even a step further. And we're going to cut this in half. It's been resting for about 15 minutes. Okay, you can see inside. It's really nice. Now we're going to come over here and drop it into this oil. And we don't want to fry this too high of heat, because we're slowly rendering this down. We're not trying to fry it so high that it's starting to cook it and get too crispy. We're just going to render this down really nice and slow. A little bit of garlic. Just going to put a little bit of garlic cloves in there. And this is some fresh oregano from the garden. I'm going to put those in there. Like that. Okay, move it over here. Go over there. Okay. Now you can see now, that's what you want. Real nice crispy skin. I'm gonna cut this down into a couple. Just like that. A little salt. A little pepper.